I'm engaged. How do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago. Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of the wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress. From budgeting to booking vendors to day of drama, let's talk smart wedding planning. All right, folks, welcome to the next episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? We have a special guest with us here today, but of course we have our co-host August with us. But
What's
then
up,
we have
everybody?
Oh yeah, gotta let August talk. Sorry, August.
It's okay.
And then we have two of the Fantasy Sound DJs. I'm the third, but we have all three of us on one podcast. I think this is a very special occasion.
This is historic.
Some
of us are more special than the others.
Yes, but we won't let anybody know which one. Right? I like that.
You get to decide. Choose your own adventure.
Right.
All right, but we're gonna start by letting. I think we'll flip a coin, and it's Norm. We'll let Norm go first to tell us a little bit about Norm and how did he get going in this wonderful world of DJing.
Well, wow. I have to go way back because I've been DJing just as long as probably Kevin has.
We're old.
Yes, we're old. They used
to bring records on their dinosaurs to the wedding.
Uphill both ways.
True. So, I started out in high school. It was just the cool thing to do. Our high school had a bunch of DJs, and they were always like competing for the for the cool parties on the weekends. And that's basically how I started. I started out with my best friend. He kind of introduced me to it. His older brother was a DJ, and he had a bunch of records, like Glenn said, all the dinosaur records. And we would just he introduced me to all the cool songs and all the stuff that the clubs were playing, which I didn't know because I wasn't old enough to go to the clubs. And then, I just started to mess around with a lot of the music and just kind of discovering new music. And that's where my music addiction began. And, it just evolved from there. Started doing weddings way back. I think my first wedding was in 1988. I was actually a part of the wedding party.
That's even better.
So I did double duty. I'd do my duty as a DJ, and then run over to do my duty as a groomsman. So that was interesting. Been DJing ever since. Haven't stopped loving doing what I love to do. That's pretty much how I started.
And then you mentioned your music addiction. We won't talk about any of your other addictions, so we'll move on.
And here's another thing. I live like 2 blocks away from a record store. And
dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous. It was Leopold's record. I don't know.
So I used to love Star Records. Was my favorite when I was.
I used to take the bus to Star Records. Yeah. So
that was my Thursday routine was to go to Star Records, then hit Leopold's, and then go over to in the city to Tower Records, and then if I didn't find what I want, I'd hit. What's the one in Berkeley? I'm blanking on it right now.
Rasputin.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and I would hit that on the way back. But that was my every Thursday routine. Was I was at Star Records at noon. You could like set a clock to me. I was there every time. Anyway,
yeah.
All right, Glenn.
Yo, I'm not as old as Norm. I got my start in high school as well. I actually used to play like for the rallies. So like the cheerleaders would come over and they would bring me their mixtape. It was like the Memorex. I don't remember like if they were like the clear Memorex tapes that had like the neon designs on them. So they would bring me their mixtape.
You are kind of old.
Yeah, I'm kind of old. But so that's really how I got started. I didn't really get into the DJ world until my son started elementary school. And actually the head cheerleader from when I was in high school was the school principal. And so she said, hey,
that's like a full circle moment.
Right? Isn't that so cool? so she said, "Hey, would you DJ for us at some of our parties and things?" So that's how I got started. And then I saw Fantasy Sound was hiring for wedding DJs, and I said I could do that. So I submitted my resume, and they never called me.
Kevin.
Right?
That's Lindsay. Lindsay does all that. Not me.
Don't be throwing her under the bus.
Of course, she's not here to defend herself.
She is not here. But then I was actually introduced to Kevin through a mutual friend, someone from school and someone that he knew. And it's like 9 years now that I've been with Fantasy Sound. So that's how I got my big start.
Yeah.
Well, wow, I never got a chance to tell me how I met Kevin.
Yeah, no, we don't want to.
We met through an ace. It was nice. Well, keep it clean.
I'm talking about all your addictions. That wasn't enough time.
I'm sorry. I thought this was like a, like an AA meeting.
We're coming out.
Yeah, intervention. I meant.
How funny. All right, August.
All right. Well, so today's episode is going to have a little bit of a different structure. So since Kevin is a DJ, I'm going to be asking all three of you guys questions. So I'll be keeping track of points to see who's the most special, like Glenn said.
We already know Glenn's going to win that.
And Kevin, you're down a point because you never called Glenn back. So sorry to,
whoa,
you're already behind.
Man,
tough crowd.
All right. But today, what we really want to give our couples who are listening is some tips for choosing the right DJ. And who better to do that than all of our seasoned Fantasy Sound DJs. So right off the bat, we're just going to get into it. We can go in a circle, but who do we think, or what do we think is the most important things to remember when selecting a DJ for your wedding?
I think it really comes down to compatibility. When you choose a DJ, you're going to be working with this person throughout the whole process. Sure, there are a lot of talented DJs out there and so many to choose from, but it really comes down to compatibility. You'd hate to hire somebody and in the end realize you didn't get along with them.
Mm-hmm.
That would really suck. Put it mildly. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to compatibility, and how you do that is actually meeting them, setting up a Zoom meeting, or even a phone chat, because anyone can sound awesome in an email,
Yeah.
But it really comes down to how well you guys get along, and how well the DJ understands who they are. The DJ who will be acting as the MC will be representing the couple. So, so that's very important.
It's almost like dating them,
Yeah.
You know them a little bit better. So
Exactly.
Absolutely like dating.
Yeah. It's a relationship.
It
really
totally is. Yeah.
Total threesome.
Yeah.
It's a total threesome. Oh my God. Of course.
You, your partner, and your DJ.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Well, what about you, Glenn? What do you think is an important thing to remember?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Norm. Like, it has to be someone that you gel with. I tell my couples when I talk to them, anybody can play music. I mean, for God's sake, we've got Spotify can play music, but right, who has that personality that you really click with and gel with? I can't tell you the number of couples that I've talked to that are like, "Oh, my cousin's going to be my DJ." Awesome. That's great. I'm so glad your cousin is talented, but how many weddings have they DJ'd? Do they know how to take care of business for you when it comes down to needing to take care of business? Because stuff will go wrong. Stuff can go wrong at a wedding. And you take someone like Norm and Kevin and myself, who's been doing this for a long time, and we can jump in and save stuff without the couple even knowing that it's happened. I mean, I fixed cakes, right? I've done, right?
You wear a lot of hats the day of.
Right. I mean, there's been times when we're looking for an officiant at the last moment, and right, I'm a licensed officiant. So if I had to step in, I could turn on my own mic and jump in and marry the couple. I mean, not literally marry them.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it really is all about that relationship. If you don't have a relationship with them, it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, I agree. I always tell everyone it comes down to personality. It's least about the music. And they always worry about what music I like. And it doesn't matter what music I like. It more matters about the music that you like. But it's also because, we're there to play the music that you and your guests like. So it doesn't, if I don't like country, then it's no big deal. I could still get in there, like Glenn said, and play country. And no one would know that I don't like country. Like I
love country.
Yeah. But I was I'm not. I'm just use that as an example.
Yeehaw.
I did a Persian wedding for the first time a handful of years ago, and I had an aunt walk up to me and tell me I was the best Persian DJ they've ever had at an event.
Wow.
And it's funny because it was my first one, and all I did was follow along what the couple told me to do. So I was like, and at the end, I gave them credit. I went up to them and I said, "Hey, I was told I was the best Persian DJ that one of your guests ever had," and I go, "Thank you. You guys did all that work for me." So
Kevin's trying to get special points.
I don't know. You might be tied back with you guys again.
Yeah.
I have a similar experience with a Persian wedding you did when I actually went a step further and sought out one of my Middle Eastern DJ buddies, and he gave me some tips, and the bride actually went up to me after and said, "Wow, you played better music than what I gave you."
That's even better.
That's nice.
So Norm's up 2 notches.
Yeah. Glenn, do you have an experience to share to get you back on the board?
I treat all of my couples like that. Not just my Persian couples, all of them.
Okay, so it sounds like so far when couples are meeting with their DJ, they're dating their DJ, we're looking for compatibility, we're looking for personality that you gel with. So in order for them to kind of see if they do gel with their DJ, what kind of questions should they be asking their DJ when they meet with them for the first time?
Don't ask ChatGPT and Google what questions to ask your DJ.
Do you get like the same ones over and over again?
Yes. They ask, do you have insurance? What happens if a speaker breaks? I mean, there's those types of questions.
Yeah. Don't ask questions just to ask questions.
Right.
It's always doom and gloom stuff too when they're
it's always, I mean, first of all, go to a reputable company, right? You come to Fantasy Sound, I've got extra speakers. If there's one that takes a dump, I'm going to place a call or text and they're going to bring me stuff. I mean, that just happened over the weekend that I had some issues. They just bring me the extra stuff. But ask the questions that are important to you. If you do take it from a perspective of I'm dating this person, they are in charge of the most important day of my life. Now, there's going to be coordinators and planners, and there's lots of moms and sisters that think they're in control that day. No, I have the loudest voice. I have the microphone. I'm in charge of what goes on that day. So, don't ask to Kevin's point, don't ask what's my favorite music. Tell me what your favorite music is. And then ask me, what happens when nobody's on the dance floor? That's like one of my favorite questions to get answered.
That's a great question.
And that used to be different for me, before we went into COVID. But coming out of COVID, watching the dance floor is more than just checking out what's going on the dance floor. But I always look around the room, right? Are people engaged in conversations? Are they singing along, right? That tells us a lot. So, I think that one of the greatest questions they can ask is, what happens when nobody's on the dance floor? And just see, right? Silence is the best answer, right? Don't continue to answer that question for your DJ. Just let it be quiet. Let them come up with that answer and see what it is.
I usually cry and go home, but that's just me.
I put on my favorite song and I just start dancing.
Right?
Yeah.
Look, there's somebody dancing. There's somebody dancing. Look. No.
Well, I'm curious now. So let's say like your couple did ask you that question, Kevin, or did ask you that question, Norm. How would you answer it?
I actually, I would actually go out on the dance floor.
I think that's like a great little tip.
I would actually go on the dance floor. I would play like a line dance and even lead it if I have to. Sometimes they need that extra push, maybe just just a little encouragement.
Norm loves Achy Breaky Heart. That's like his favorite.
That's a Filipino inside joke, right? No, but yeah, I mean, that's a popular line dance. I know a lot of couples are against line dancing, but it still works and people still love it. Even the classics still works, and sometimes sometimes you need the
mass
a little
appeal,
something
the
to bring,
nostalgia.
Yeah, same thing. You got to pivot, go a different direction. I'm a big believer too, is talking to the couples. All right, well, all this music you gave me, what if it doesn't work? How much creative freedom do I have? Kind of knowing the boundaries and all that kind of stuff ahead of time. I'm not crazy like them. I don't get out on the dance. I hate to dance. I don't know why. That's why I became a DJ. I will only dance if I've had a few cocktails and I'm drunk. That's about the only time I will dance. So.
And Kevin, I think you bring up a great point. Just to kind of go back, when people say, "Oh, my cousin is going to DJ the wedding," the venues where we work, we are not allowed to drink while we're working. So it's great if your cousin wants to come and work your wedding, but make sure they know what they're getting into first, because we're not allowed to drink while we're on shift.
Well, and Glenn, that was kind of revolving around my next question, because I kind of wanted to expand on that a little bit more. Can you explain the importance of the DJ's role the day of the wedding beyond just playing music? Because you kind of mentioned like you have to wear a lot of hats the day of. So what do you kind of do in your day to day that makes it worth hiring an experienced DJ for your event?
Yeah, that's great. So I mentioned part of that already is that, we've got backup equipment. So if something goes wrong, when I show up on site, I get to show up like Superman in most cases. I just show up in a suit with my laptop and a backpack. I set up, I test all my equipment, make sure I've got fresh batteries, like all of those little things that people don't necessarily think of. But in many cases, I'm in the place where no one else is. During that prep time. So when people are getting ready for the ceremony, they're outside for the ceremony. I might be inside testing my equipment. And that's when I watched a little girl walk up and stick her finger in the middle of the wedding. Right. So we were actually able to like get some succulents that were around the cake and stack them up to cover it up. But, we took care of it. It wasn't even an issue for someone. We don't drink. So many times we are one of the few sober people in the room. But what happens when something does happen, right? If paramedics need to be called, if somebody has an issue, you need to make sure that you've got somebody there that can kind of step in and take control of a situation that has a level head, number one. And number two, they've been through this, maybe not this particular scenario, but they know how stuff is going to play out. We can get people back to where they need to be, right? If we have to take a break during the wildfires in our area, right, we lost power. And it was like, how do we get this back? What's our plan B? So it's there are just so many things that could happen.
Yeah.
Right. Not that they do, but there's so many things that could happen. It's just nice to know that you've got somebody.
It's good to have someone you trust and someone who's comfortable with handling those types of situations too.
Yeah, it takes a lot of preparation and experience as well. Knowing the venue definitely helps. So you can troubleshoot if there's a problem and you're familiar with the venue, you know what to do in that situation. So.
Well, I was going to say we have to be really good at improv. So we have to, all right, we bring our wedding, our creative partners and everyone together and say, all right, XYZ happened and we got to make this happen. And how are we going to, change it to where the couple doesn't know anything's going on, and how do we move forward and everything's nice and smooth. And I'm a big believer too, is like the guests don't know what's going on as well. I had worked a wedding recently where the wedding planner kept leaving her clipboard like out for the guests, and you would see the guests reading and they're like, oh, we're behind. We're not doing what we're supposed to, And I was like, well, if she would quit leaving her damn clipboard around. No one would know that wasn't happening when it was supposed to, because, I always say sometimes the timeline is more of a guideline, like we want to try to do this and then at this time, but hey, something went wrong. Or, then instead of doing it at 7:05, we're doing it at 7:10. And then, oh, great. We were able to make up some time. Now we're back on time, like all that kind of that ebb and flow and working together. So I think it's important too, is put together a really good team of creative partners, so having a really good photographer there, a really good planner, a really good videographer, those are kind of your core people that are going to be working really hard for you on your wedding day. And if you have a bad apple or a bad seed in one of those, it makes for a long, long day for everyone. So
yeah, Kevin, I did a wedding where they had an espresso bar, and they brought it in later in the evening. It was a fairly new venue, and the minute they started to make a coffee, it would trip the circuit breaker, and I would lose the music. We would lose half the lights in the room, and they would flip it back on. And finally, I told them, I said, it's that espresso bar that's over there. That I told the coordinator, they're the one that's causing this. And so they said, well, can you unplug some of your stuff? No, I'm not going to unplug my stuff for your coffee. But I ended up going and taking their extension cord away from them, so that they couldn't plug in anymore, because what I was doing was far more important than their espresso.
Yeah.
Build your bar around the corner, go over there where the lights are still on, plug in over there, people will come to you. But I can't pick
and I'll make lots of announcements to tell everyone where to get their espresso.
Yeah, right. I will make sure they know where to get their coffee. But right, it's that take charge. You want somebody that can step in, because I've had people say, well, they're my clients. Well, guess what? They're my clients too.
Yeah. It like I said, it does take a lot of preparation and your ability to do things on the fly if you have to. Backup equipment is very important. Glenn also mentioned backup equipment. If their power keeps going off, let's say the whole entire venue is out, maybe you have battery powered packs that can power your system and keep the party going if they have to. So just backup preparation.
And batteries are always very important, right, Norm?
Yeah, everything. Everything's pretty much going to be battery powered eventually. Yeah. So
no, that's very true.
And even backup people, right? I mean, we've learned a lot.
Right.
The benefit to having, we've all been in situations where we've heard that somebody didn't show up, and making sure that you've got someone that can step in. And we are part of a team here, but we also belong to other organizations that, when we need a hand or we need someone to step in, it's not how much or, what are they having for dinner? It's how can I help? So making sure that we've got connected people.
Yeah,
for sure.
And those are all probably things that your cousin cannot provide for you. So,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about networking and it's who you know, who you can trust. I probably have about 50 different phone numbers of DJs on my phone right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So if ever come to a bind where I need something or somebody specializes in something, even if I have a question in the middle of the event, I would reach out to some of these DJs, even if they were working. But
I've done that before.
Yeah.
I got stuck and, and I was doing a Latin wedding and text Adam. So, yeah. It's nice to have those people.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I want to ask too. So I kind of want to get back to, couples are watching this. They're kind of trying to see, what questions can they ask when trying to choose the right DJ. So I guess my next question for the couples would be, you're in the meeting with them. How do they best communicate their vision to you of what they want for the day of and what their music style is?
It usually starts with the questions that you ask them, important questions. First, find out who they are, what they like, what they don't like. Sometimes that would answer your question right away. What are their hobbies? Tell me about yourself. What would guests know about you? Just in general, what would they say about you? A lot of the information or the answers they give you, you can pretty much assess what type of music would get them going. Of course, you still need to ask what kind of music will get them going, but that will give you a good clue going into the other questions. So,
and
I feel like with all of this too, you guys have to be very observant, like not only on the day of when you're kind of reading the room and reading situations, but you're reading the couples too. And I'm sure, I mean, that's a huge challenge in itself to be able to meet with the couple, ask them those questions, and kind of move on from there.
We're reading everyone's minds. Actually.
Yeah.
There's 200 guests. We have to kind of read 200 guests' minds at the same time. So, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was just going to say, I always ask them too about their guests. Who are they inviting? So is it a lot of their friends coming to the wedding, or a lot of family, like age range of people? Because then that kind of helps dictate stuff too. And then I like to know about like family traditions, so like what something that happens every time at a family wedding of theirs, or any of that kind of stuff. Learning all that kind of stuff, like Norm said, it opens the window and gives us a vision into more of what the day is going to be like.
Yeah, I love that that people are so open to Zoom meetings now, because it actually takes me into their home in most cases, right?
Oh, yeah.
Before COVID, it's like a bad word. I can't even say it. But before that, we would meet in our office, and people loved coming into our office. It's a great place to be. But now that most people are opting to meet remotely, I actually get to go into their home, and I get to see their pets, and I get to see their taste in art or lack of taste in art.
Or the curtains behind them,
or the cats that they're hiding. Norm's in his motorhome on the side of Unicorn right now. But I love to get that.
I never thought about that. That's really
I get
cool.
into their homes, right?
And you meet their pets and their family members, and sometimes too, they're inviting like mom and dad, or if a maid of honor or someone's going to have an importance on the day of, they're inviting all those people onto the Zoom as well. So you're meeting a lot of these people ahead of time as well. So yeah. That's changed big time since COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, well, next question for you guys. How do you stay updated on like the current music trends while still blending that with, classics that everyone's going to want to hear at a wedding?
I've got a 14-year-old with terrible taste in music.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, he clues me into a lot of what the younger crowd is listening to. I actually spend most of my time without music on, which surprises a lot of people. But after I finish a wedding, when I get in the car to drive home, I drive home in silence. I don't listen.
I guess it's like work-life balance, right? You kind of have to separate yourself a little bit.
But I just had this conversation recently, is that there are different types of DJs, right? If you are a club DJ and you are DJing at an EDM club, guess what type of music people are expecting you to play? EDM music, right? When you come to a wedding, we are catering to people between the ages of 2 and 102. So it's not, yes, being on top of the latest and greatest helps, but most of the people that we're catering to are going to get out and they're going to dance to Earth, Wind, and Fire September, right? They're going to take the dance floor for that.
Right.
So
stuff they're familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not always about like what's the latest and cutting edge. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have been at a wedding where someone's like, do you have this song? And I looked it up. I was like, I don't even know that song.
Yeah.
But it was released like 4 hours before.
Oh.
But
on YouTube.
Yeah, it was some remix on TikTok that somebody did that just...
You're like, I'm not a miracle worker, sir. Like,
yeah. So that's, that's really, yes, the newest and best is great. But, if I'm not playing what people want to hear, usually they're going to come up and let me know and start requesting what they do want to hear. And I do my best to try to work that in.
Yeah, classics always work. But if I need to keep up with the newest music, I would definitely look around and social media. If Facebook works too, but that's mainly for the older people. But TikTok,
Instagram
definitely works. You get lots of clues from there.
Norm goes to MySpace too. He looks up at MySpace for that.
I almost said MySpace too. I got myself.
But he wants to make sure his top friends are still there.
Yeah, Glenn, you're number 3 right now. But yeah, social media, TikTok, there's Instagram, gives you lots of clues.
YouTube
as well. I'm always looking at different charts too, as well. Different music charts. A lot of the music pools. I'll just skim through that. Listen to stuff on there. Get clues from the younger people as well.
Yeah,
I still do like school dances here and there too. So
yeah.
So even there, I'm still learning about music because they're requesting stuff I've never heard of or know about. So
it's funny because I just chaperoned my daughter's middle school dance, and I laughed because the DJ basically played wedding music the entire time, with the exception of like maybe 6 to 8 songs. It was like I was like shocked. But and I was shocked at the reaction from the kids too. So it was
were they into it? The kids?
Oh, they went nuts. Like I can't tell you the last time I played YMCA at a wedding. It's not one of my go-to songs. And this DJ played it, and the kids lost their mind. And I was like,
they're like feral.
Yeah, and I was like, it was making me laugh. I was like, I was like, I could DJ this middle school dance. I haven't DJed a middle school dance in like 8 to 10 years. It's been a long time. But then I left that night going, I could do it. I can still do it.
And the kids are the biggest critics too, and they won't hold back.
No,
they will tell you what's on their mind.
They will throw Skittles at you, is what they will do.
Death by Skittles.
I threatened to play country music all night.
Oh, that's even better.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. So in a minute, we'll be getting into some top tips for our couples to take away from this episode. But before we do, just kind of a general question. What is one thing that you wish every couple knew when they were hiring their DJ?
Ooh, that would be that we don't have every song that's on Spotify.
Yeah, and I guess I wouldn't know that either. So
yeah, we can't bring Spotify into our DJ software. We actually have to physically own the MP3 in order for it to play in our DJ software.
Right, and we can't always rely on Wi-Fi to stream music as well. Again, it'd be super embarrassing for it to just die out in the middle of a song.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and to that point, right, we buy the music. We make money off the music. When we buy the music, the artist also makes money off the music. So
exactly,
if people are using streaming services and they're just playing off of YouTube or whatever it is, that artist isn't getting compensated for their talent. So, but I think that like one thing for every couple to know is that during the event, when I ask them if they need anything, I truly mean it. Right? I will go up and say, do you need anything? It's a tough day. It's a really long and arduous day for them. So if they need a drink of water that looks like it's a cocktail, I'm happy to do that for them. If they need a break, and I'm happy to orchestrate getting that for them. So I truly mean, when I ask, do you need anything? I genuinely mean it.
Yeah, and it's funny, to your point, until I got married, I never experienced being on the other side. And it's way different being that person on the other side. And it's to the point where it's very overwhelming. And sometimes you just need a moment, or, you just need a break from Aunt Edna that's following you around and driving you nuts. And, like I had a bride recently, she just had a look on her face. I walked over. Hey guys, how's it going? Do you need anything? Because I'm not afraid to walk over to the bar and get them a drink or do whatever they need, to help them out. And she looked at me and she goes, my photographer's driving me fucking nuts, and I was like, okay. So she goes,
okay.
And I was like,
they're driving me fucking nuts too.
Yeah. So. And I'm like, well, I go, what does he do? And so she explained to me, and I said, all right, let me run interference. And I clued in the wedding coordinator at that point. And so the wedding coordinator and I just ran interference and kept the photographer away from her as much as possible. And the bride came up and gave me the biggest hug at the end of the night. She goes, I was finally able to enjoy my wedding after you guys stopped this person from trying to get every, she goes, I felt like I was paparazzi following me around, and I wanted my photo taken, but not like every move I made on the wedding day. So it was kind of an interesting little thing, but that's kind of the extra mile that we go to for our clients.
And do you think, I mean, it's kind of that same point we made before, like get to know your vendor or your creative partner, right? Do you think like if that bride maybe had taken the time to ask their photographer more questions and learn about them, maybe she could have avoided that stress the day of?
I think it comes to Norm's point earlier about personality, and that's what it comes down to. I don't think she did a good job of making sure she clicked, because I tell all my couples that you're going to spend more time with your wedding photographer than you will with anybody else on your wedding day. Like you're with this person more than you are anybody else, because they're with you sometimes at the hotel or the house or wherever you are before you even get to the ceremony. And then they're with you behind the scenes at the ceremony. And then they're with you behind the scenes when you're doing, sunset photos or family photos and all this other stuff. And so you got to make sure you really like this person, Well,
and I guess around your friends and family too, right? Like you want to make sure that, they're professional and that they're putting on a front that you're okay with your family and friends being around too.
Yeah. And I just don't think this bride did a good job of vetting this photographer, because their personalities did not. I knew from the get-go. I was like, that was an interesting choice in the photographers, because I could tell that their personalities didn't get along.
Yeah. Speaking of photographers, when you view like a photographer's website, they're all awesome. They're all amazing. So it really comes down to who you're going to get along with the day. And Kevin brought a big point about you're spending the whole day with them, even hours and days and months ahead of that as well. So yeah, very important that you get along. So.
Well, and even like for us too, it's like when the wedding's over, we're done with the couple. Like there's nothing else that we need to do.
Right.
But after the wedding, you're still working with this photographer to get all your photos. And, some people, if, albums or whatever, there's still work to be done with this person after the fact.
And Norm, that's a great point. And Kevin, people will often ask, "Oh, do you have a sample of video that I can watch from you at a wedding?" We just
like a trailer.
Yeah, like all three of us just said, the least important thing I do all night is play music, right? The most important thing is to have that personality and get that gel, because we're the MC. People aren't necessarily going to remember the music I play, but they're going to remember how engaged I was with their friends and family when getting them seated and getting them to have a good time. So that's most important, not a video reel of me DJing September.
And it's funny too, because we used to have videos back in the day, long time ago, and we found when we stopped doing the videos, our bookings went up because someone would hear a song that they did not like in what we were playing, and it immediately turned them off to that DJ. And it was, because it's to everyone's point, we're there to play, whether we like an artist or not, we're there to play music, and so it doesn't, music's the least important thing, but that was the one thing that was turning people off. And we found when people got to know our DJs and meet our DJs, our bookings went up.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't have thought about that, but I guess the video is kind of like setting you up for failure almost. Like they have this preconceived notion. Yeah, no.
And today couples there's so many different people, artists that they don't like. Like I just did a Filipino wedding where they did not like Bruno Mars, and I was not allowed to play Bruno Mars. And I was like, what do you mean I can't play Bruno Mars? He's like the Filipino.
He's the most underrated artist of our time. Well, and I will stand on that.
Well, and I always joke that he's the Filipino Elvis. Like every Filipino wedding you're going to do, you're going to play multiple Bruno Mars songs. It is what it is, and so it just made me laugh. But if they heard that ahead of time, that couple would have never hired me because they didn't like Bruno Mars.
Oh wow. You just brought me back to a couple I remember that didn't want any Bruno Mars simply because the bride didn't want it, because the groom dated Bruno Mars's cousin before.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And that was the only reason why he didn't want Bruno Mars. But
that's
it always works.
All right. So my tip would be is to, look at the talk to your creative partners and look at your, referral list from your venue. That's going to be your great start to start with. And actually, your friends, asking your friends, who they have a great, interaction with, someone that maybe recently got married, and make that your starting list of people that you're going to interview, and look at their website and Instagram and go from there.
Perfect. Okay, Glenn,
August,
what is your tip?
You might have to say the question again, because I think that the dogs are barking when you ask the question.
Oh, that's okay. So I just want to know, usually at the end of each of these episodes, we like to leave our couples with 3 tips to take away from the episode. So what is your one tip that you can give a couple if you want them to take away one thing from this experience?
Do your homework. We will give you all kinds of tools to prepare and make sure that you are ready to meet with us. Take the time and do your homework. And don't do it the night before. It's not a cram session. We meet with you months in advance so that you can take that time and really come up with a nice list of music. It hurts my soul when someone will say to me, no matter what the song is, right? I ask them whether it's first dance or first open dancing or cake cutting song or whatever it might be. And they say, oh, I don't really care. You choose. No, you should care. This is your day, not my day. And I have so many song choices that it's a really difficult decision for me to make. So just do your homework.
All right. And then Norm, what's our last tip?
Just don't hire a DJ through emails, just through emails. Definitely speak with them, meet with them on Zoom, whether it's on the phone, maybe it's in person, meet with them, ask them the great questions, because anyone can sound great on emails, but if they can't answer personally in front of you, then, that could be a problem, because they need to communicate well, because they're going to be representing you on your wedding day. And if they can't formulate sentences that people cannot understand, that's going to be a big problem. Because
that's great. Because I mean, you, I'm sure you guys are all, amazing public speakers, because and great podcast guests, right? Because you're also doing this on the fly as well. So
okay, I just lost my podcast virginity right here. So this is my first time.
Is it really? Good for you, Norm.
Yeah, my first time. So
we keep doing that with a lot of people.
You got my cherry today too. So.
Yeah.
August, you've been a part of lots of weddings. What do you think is some like the biggest impacts that you've seen a DJ make at an event?
Oh yeah. Well, I think just coming from the standpoint as a coordinator, it's like, it's stress-free, and the amount of times where, Kevin and I had worked side by side, or Glenn, we did one. Norm, we probably did one too at one point together.
I'm sure we have.
But like going into the event and just knowing, oh my gosh, today I have someone competent. I have someone today who, if I need to step away for a second because I need to be focusing on the couple, I'm not worried about what's happening with the event. Maybe there is some kind of emergency going on and I need to be handling that. I know that I can trust in my DJ to handle all the announcements. It's not like I'd be going up to Kevin and being like, hey, can you announce this late night treat? He already knows to do it. So it just makes the coordinator's day less stressful too. And I'm sure all of the other vendors, when you know that there's a creative partner there that you can trust. And I'm not like running around and, I hate being a micromanager, but then there was times where you needed to be. And I hated being that kind of person. But, when you're trying to make sure everything's running smoothly, it's just so important to have a team of vendors that is going to work well together and knows what they're doing, has that expertise, and has your best interests in mind.
And that goes right back to what Kevin said, right? Trust the recommended vendors list, right? Go with that list, because you don't shop by price only.
Yeah.
Certainly don't go that route.
We're there to make August relax is our whole goal.
Well, not no more, but
not
but the other Augusts out there that are still doing it.
The other August.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
Kevin, you want to wrap us up?
Oh, sure. I want to thank Glenn and Norm for being here today and getting their first podcast under their belt. Thank you guys for being here with us today. Also want to remind everyone, if you have not yet subscribed or liked, please do that. And wherever you're getting Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married, where you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, you name it. It's everywhere. And we want to thank August. August, you did a good job taking over and being the official host for the day. Thank you so much, August.
Thank you. I also lost my host virginity today too. So.
There you go.
Oh my God.
So many firsts.
Just like 10th grade all over again.
Oh my God. Kevin is looking like the slut now.
I know.
It was great interviewing you guys. And, all the listeners can find in the comments of who the most special DJ was today.
Pick me.
I love August. August is going to get the most votes.
Hopefully that's
Pick me. I don't know anything. So.
Hopefully that's the video clip we use for social media.
Carrie, look at this. Look at this.
Should we all point?
Yes. All right, folks. All right. Thank you again for being on. And thanks, Norm, August.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Guys. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast, brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me if you have a topic you would like us to cover, or if you are struggling with your wedding planning. Please be sure to submit a question at podcast@fantasysound.com. I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It helps others find our podcast so they can learn from our guests too. And to everyone listening, happy wedding planning.